So let's talk about negotiating with an allo partner when you're sex repulsed or sex averse. So this video is inspired by a question I got from one of my YouTube viewers. Thank you so much for sending your question in. We'll tackle this question as best we can. A couple of months ago, I realized I'm ace, but this was after being married with kids. And I came out to my husband about it since it has affected him for the last going on 3 years now. Because not only have I discovered that I'm ace, I'm also averse repulsed, and I am struggling with that within myself. I feel that since I never knew asexuality was a thing, I thought I was straight, and that I was supposed to want and like sex, so I did, but being honest about it, I don't like it. So my question is, how in the world does a repulsed ace negotiate with their allo partner when it seems like I would always be a 0 on the sliding scale? So I want to start by just saying a little bit about ace-allo relationships and how complicated they can be. I am in 2 ace-allo relationships, and even as a sex-favorable person, I still find the negotiation part challenging. It's tough being ace and in a relationship with an allo person. You're always feeling like you are not going to measure up to their expectations somehow, that you are always going to fall short. And a lot of that, regardless of how supportive your partner is, a lot of that stems from the internalized messages we have about asexuality in general. We are taught from the time we are very young that your allosexual are broken. There is no other option. And when we come to the realization that we are ace, and we come to the realization that asexuality is our truth, we have to contend with all of these messages that we've absorbed throughout our entire lives, that this thing that we now understand ourselves to be is not broken, is not wrong, is not defective, is not some sort of bad version of being a person. So we carry a lot of that into our relationships with our allo partners. Not only are we carrying the internalized negative messages about asexuality and ourselves, we are also carrying all the messages that say that allosexual is the right way to be. And we carry the messages that our allo partner is the one who's doing it right. And a lot of times we inadvertently and subconsciously place their needs and their desires above our own in our relationship, simply because they're allo and they must be right. So all of this, the struggling with the negative, the way that we sort of interact with allos, the allosexuality of our partner, all of that mixed together creates a challenge regardless of whether you're sex favorable or sex repulsed. So all that just to really drill home the part that this is hard no matter what. Navigating an ace-allo relationship is a challenge, no matter where you fall in the comfort scale with sexual behavior. So let's try to tackle this question of, well, what if you are sex repulsed? What if you are sex averse? What do you do then? So the first thing I would advise and I would recommend is lean into being honest and having a challenging but open communication with your partner about it. Regardless of the makeup of the relationship, be it ace-allo or 2 allo people or even 2 ace people, the most important thing you can do with your partner is lean into really, really honest communication. Letting your partner know what's true, no matter how hard that truth is, and no matter how challenging that truth may be to work on together, is really the best thing you can do. Because you don't know how your partner's going to handle something, and you don't know how your relationship is going to handle something until you're actually in it, handling it. So I would say, first of all, just prepare and open up a space. And I hope that you have this space with your allo partner to have what is potentially going to be a very tough conversation. Have the conversation that says, partner of mine, I know I came out as asexual and I know that we are processing that, but I really need to sit down with you and talk about this other thing. I feel like I'm sex-averse or sex-repulsed. I need you to understand what that means to me. I need you to understand how that fits into who I am as a person. And I want us to sit down and figure this out because you matter to me, our relationship matters to me, and I just think we need to talk about it. So secondly, I would say when you're going to have this conversation, as best you can, be open, and your partner as well, be open for discussing possibilities. So inside this conversation that you're going to have about being sex repulsed and sex averse and what that means to you, you should also be prepared to talk about, like, practically what that's going to mean, and also practically what you'd like to do about it. This part of the conversation requires you to be really clear about some things for yourself. And actually, both of you need to be clear about these things. You need to be really clear about your wants. You need to be clear about your needs. And you need to be clear about your deal breakers. So don't just go into this difficult conversation telling your partner this truth about yourself. Go in and be ready to talk about, well, so now that you know this truth, so here are some things you need to know about me. You need to know what my needs are. These are the things I need from our relationship and the things I need from you. These are the things I want from you and I want from our relationship. And these are the things that feel like real deal breakers to me. These are the things I just can't. I can't do these things. I can't do them. I can't have them in our relationship. These are my deal breakers. Have your partner do the same thing too. Put those things out on the table. So once you know those things, you can start to negotiate, well, okay, so knowing these two sets of things, knowing the needs, wants, and deal breakers for both of us, we can start to together find the place where we can stitch together a relationship that meets as many of those things as we can, that honors as many of those things as we can together. And then we can also discuss maybe, like, how do we then get needs met that are not being met by our relationship. Now that conversation is challenging. That's, like, tough. And that's not something you're going to do all in one go. This could take a period of time. And maybe you need, like, bring in, if it's accessible to you and have the ability to, bring in a therapist to help you talk through those things. That's something that my husband and I are in the process of doing ourselves. But the goal here isn't just to kind of, like, feel like you're dropping a bomb on your relationship, but, like, drop a truth in your relationship and then talk about the things that you need to do to stitch together the relationship that works. And just be open to maybe things you hadn't thought about, to open yourself up to things maybe together you haven't tried, that you'd be willing to give a try to, and just be open to solving this with your partner. And I think that's an important thing. The more that you can create a space where you're solving your relationship together, you're solving the challenges of your relationship together, the better and more lasting those problems will be. You shouldn't feel like you have to solve this problem on your own, or that your partner has to solve it on their own. And lastly, I just wanted to address something in your question that I think is true for a lot of asexual people, that keeps us from, I think, sometimes, like, being the best that we can be inside our ace-allo relationships, and that can sometimes keep our ace-allo relationships from, like, fully becoming the best things they can be. And that's our own opinion of ourselves and our asexuality. One of the greatest gifts that I think we can give ourselves is putting in the work to change the way we think about our asexuality. If we think of our aceness as an obstacle to happiness for ourselves, if we think of our asexuality as an obstacle to the happiness of our partner, If we think of our asexuality as a stumbling block and an obstacle to the success of our relationship, that's what our asexuality will become. And I understand how we get there. We get there because the messages in the culture around asexuality are extremely negative. We are taught to feel that way. But we have to really work at changing that perspective within ourselves, because our asexuality isn't an obstacle for us and for others. Our asexuality is one of the things that makes us us. You being an asexual person that is sex-averse or sex-repulsed is part of the thing that makes you who you are. And you're not strictly your sexual orientation. You're not strictly your relationship to sex. You are a plethora of other things to your partner. You're a friend, you're a teammate, you're someone they hang out with, you're someone who's funny, you're someone they're attracted to and into. Like, you're all these other things. You're more than just your asexuality. But we get so focused on our asexuality because of how we are culturally conditioned to engage with it, we forget that we're all those other things too, and that our asexuality helps shape those other things that make us an appealing partner to our partner. So a way that you can help yourself and your relationship is to change that mindset and start thinking about your asexuality as just a feature in your relationship. Your asexuality is just a thing you bring to the table, and there's no moral judgment attached to it. It is neither a good thing nor a bad thing. It's just part of who you are. And the more that you can assign that value to it, the easier it's going to be for you to come to the table and realize that you're coming to the relationship negotiation table with an equal, not with someone who has some kind of advantage over you, and not with someone who holds more cards than you, and not with someone who has more power in this negotiation than you do. You're equal on the playing field. And the more that you can recognize yourself as being equal on the playing field, the better this negotiation is going to go. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Of course, it's challenging. Relationships can be challenging, and negotiating difference can be challenging in any relationship, no matter what its composure. But it's worth doing, and you can succeed. You can come together with your partner and figure out something that works for you. Your asexuality and being sex repulsed or sex averse isn't an automatic fail. Don't think about it that way, and don't treat it that way. Go in and have an open and honest conversation and see what you and your partner can build and make and negotiate and bloom together.